The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the owner, staff, or management of this radio station.
Motherhood Incorporated proudly presents Military Mom Talk Radio live on TogiNet.com. Co-hosted by Robin Boyd and Sandra Beck, the owner of Motherhood Incorporated. Military Mom Talk Radio is here with a powerful platform for women to discuss their ideas, issues, and concerns with respect to the military lifestyle. Military Mom Talk Radio encourages you to share your experiences of being a military wife and mother. This show is dedicated to educating your family about the many resources that are available in both the public and private sector, and we'll be sharing helpful information from women all over the world. We'll cover everything military, from helping a family member cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, to navigating government programs dealing with family issues, to the struggles of deployment, along with being a working mother both in and out of the home. This is Military Mom Talk Radio, and here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, Military Moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd. And Robin, we got barn burners all over up here in Southern California. We've got such incredible wildfires right now. It's crazy.
It's scary, isn't it?
It's a little scary.
Yeah, you have had, I remember all the pictures that you sent me of the station fire that was right in your backyard not too long ago. I think that must be, short of the tornadoes coming, that really has got to be one of the scariest thing for a family, is to see these fires just encroaching on your property.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you think about, when you have to evacuate your home, what do you take? And I have a fire evacuation bag because I have kids, and I, have my checklist and everything to put in there.
Okay.
But, it's like loading the dogs in, putting my hard drives in, grabbing my photo albums. But I will tell you that I scanned all my photos and uploaded them to Dropbox so that if anything happens, I'm not losing my precious photographs. And, that's true for anybody who's in a family fire, just a house fire. It doesn't have to be a big brush fire in California wiping out a community for you to back this stuff up online. And, I was thinking for the military family, the great thing about Dropbox, and we're not paid to promote Dropbox. We don't get anything by promoting them today. We just think it's a good service. But you can access it anywhere in the world, and that's really great.
And I think that that's so handy. Also, even these thumb drives that are getting so large now, and we had a guest not long ago, or we've had her on a couple of times, the travel sticks lady. I mean, that's just such a smart idea to have all of your medical information on a little jump drive, whether you use something that's branded specifically for medical records and traveling, or if you're just throwing things onto a thumb drive or jump drive that's going to have the medical records, the doctor's phone numbers, and any health restrictions, the list of your medications, all of those kinds of things. The vet, the doctor, the things that your last vet report had on it, all of those things, because if they get damaged, whether it's a flood, whether it's a fire or tornado or whatever, having those virtually or digitally is so important.
It is, and it's funny because I've become such a Dropbox addict, because at first I was like, I'll just put the kids' birth certificates, I'll put my records, because it's secure up there. Then I'm like, you know what, it'd be nice to have this stuff, and I don't have to back it up. And then I'm like, let's put the photos up here, then I don't have to worry. And it's kind of grown on me, because you will tell everybody I run a technology company, and I was stumped by Dropbox when I first used it. I had the hardest time because it's so user-friendly, I didn't get it.
And I love the fact that you can decide where to share it. So if you want to share those family photos, you push them over to somebody else, or look at how much you and I use Dropbox, just sharing files for here and for all of the things that we do with motherhood. I think it's wonderful.
It is, and I wouldn't have thought about all these personal, practical applications, and like in my technology, desire to put my entire life online, I just started uploading all my music files, because I was like, crap, if this hard drive goes down, it's going to take me forever to recover all this stuff. So I'm like, there we go, up on Dropbox again. If people are like, hi, what's your name? Dropbox, what's yours?
Oh, they really are handy. I'm so glad that there are so many options that we have this digital world. I got to tell you, my husband will never let me live it down because oh my gosh, it was probably the early 90s. He said, let's get a computer. And I said, oh no, we had our own business. I did all of my spreadsheets on ledgers, and I was not about to start working on this little tiny box where the screen was so tiny, and we had our first computer was a little Mac Plus, and now look at me. I can't even go to my daughter's without dragging 2 laptops with me.
Well, and Rachel, you get your iPhone because, I'm
yeah, I haven't
so
gone there yet.
Because I have these 2 iPhones, and people are like, why do you need 2 iPhones? And it's like, well, I can broadcast my show on one iPhone, and I can watch the station cues on another iPhone. That's why, So it's very funny because, we get attached to this technology, and then we get stuck, and I can't live without it.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And it is a convenience. I mean, did your schools out your way have bring your own device options for the schools?
Some of them do,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what they do at the high school level.
Mm-hmm. This is our junior high out here. It has been it was a little controversial the first year because they were allowing kids, if you're in a study and you want to hop onto Google to get some work done, they did not deny you the ability to bring your smartphone or your own device in. A lot of kids have their little tablets and whatnot. But, there are some controversies. What about the kids who don't have them? Is this just going to be more of a barrier segregating the kids who do and the kids who don't? And there was a lot of going back and forth. But I got to tell you, it makes sense to me for schools, especially in high schools, to just have devices, load all the current editions of your textbooks onto the devices, and have these kids carrying around, instead of, we used to call them freshman bags, the kids that have to drag 40 pounds of books around with them just because their lockers in one building and the rest of their classes are across the quad or whatever.
Or they don't have lockers, like some of the places here in California. They have to lug it from place to place. And even I got to tell you, my 4th grader's backpack, by the time he puts his science book, his math book, and his history book in there, it's really heavy, and we're in Southern California, so he has to carry a couple bottles of water with him for the day. And it's insane. It's insane how heavy that backpack is.
And so here we have pediatricians saying that your children should not be doing this, and yet the schools are requiring it of them. So talk about a controversy or a contradiction. I mean, it's that's something we'll have to get into a big debate about that another day, I think.
We do. Well, they remind me of the mountain firemen or the guys getting on the plane going to deployment. They've got everything they need in this backpack that they carried around.
Oh, yeah. And Stephen even recalls that here he was 120 some odd pounds when he was in the service and dragging through the jungle. Here he had his 80 or 90 pound pack because you carried everything in with you. So, we might fuss about having to carry a few little things around here, but we got to remember what the guys in the jungles are carrying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We've got such a great show today, and Gina, who was a guest on our show a while back, emailed us something to read on the air today. Do you happen to have that handy?
I have it in front of me, yes. Gina Sclafani writes a blog called Gina Left the Mall, and you'll have to look her up on our show page because we did have a wonderful chat with her. She got a message from an Air Force wife named Jen who wrote to her saying that Jen had some Air Force friends who were in the midst of the Moore, Oklahoma tornado. They lost everything. And one of the things that they lost, one of the treasured pieces that they lost was an autographed picture of Peyton Manning. And it was a poster, and they did recover it, but it was very damaged. They were able to kind of look at it. And, of course, Jen, not being right in the area, wasn't there to help her dear friends with the cooking or the helping with the rubble and whatnot. So what she did was she got a hold of Gina and said, this is the situation. Does anybody know Peyton Manning? Well, Gina put it on her blog, and lo and behold, a couple of tweets went out, a couple of exchanges went out. Well, sure enough, if the news station, a multimedia journalist, picked it up, knew somebody who was the sportscaster at ABC News in Denver, who happened to be scheduled to be at the team's practice the next day. He saw Peyton Manning, and wouldn't you know that they made the arrangements, and a brand new picture with a signature is getting right out to this family. So they don't have a wall to put it on yet. But talk about just the power of networking and the power of military families to do something special for one another. It's remarkable. And we're so grateful for Gina for sharing that with us, because it's just one more testament of how powerful our military networks are.
It is. Well, it's a powerful testament to our military networks, but also to the power of the Internet, and I really can't tell people enough, just, if you have something to say, if you want something, put it up on a blog, put it up on a post somewhere. It's amazing what comes back to you when you just open your voice, you say something. It's amazing to me that we can do these things. I mean, Rob, we went well over 50,000 downloads again last month, and, we want to thank everybody for putting out so much support for our radio show and affirming to us that we're giving good value to our military families.
Absolutely. San, we're coming up to a commercial break, and we're going to learn more about the power of the Internet with our one of our guests, Jerry Clark. He's from Evicus Technologies. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the power of social media. We've also got an author, Paul Kendel, who wrote a book called Walking the Tiger's Path. It was a soldier's spiritual journey in Iraq. A very fascinating book. And next, after the break, we're going to first welcome Julie Schrock. She wrote a book called Missing Max, Finding Hope After My Marine Son's Death. Talk about an emotional segment. I want everybody to really tune in and listen hard, because as much as none of us want to hear this ever happening to us, if we are ever faced with this, the inspiration that this woman has given so many people will certainly touch your heart. Be back in a moment with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd on Military Mom Talk Radio.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Are you yearning to connect with those close to you who have passed on? Do you feel you'd be more at peace or more in balance in your life if you could only have that connection? Now you do. It's time for Alex Laws and the Alex Laws Hour. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central here on the Rockstar Radio Network. Alex discovered an incredible balance that allowed him to listen and receive messages from the other side. Not your traditional psychic medium, Alex has spent the last 27 years as an endurance athlete and entrepreneur. At the core of Alex's abilities is his knowing that in order to open one's soul to the universe, one must open their heart to being authentic. The wisdom Alex has shared from those beyond the veil has helped at an international level and changed people's lives, and sometimes too their direction in life. Need help with your life or business direction? Tap into the spiritual realm of Alex Laws. For more information, check out alexlaws.com. Then join us for the Alex Laws Hour with Alex Laws, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central here on the Rockstar Radio Network.
We'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Red, white, and blue.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd. And Robin, we've got a very, very wonderful and emotional segment coming up. We're welcoming Julie Schrock. She's the author of Missing Max, and her experience finding hope after her Marine son's death and her experiences as a mother of a Marine son who was deployed and killed in Afghanistan was an amazing, amazing, beautiful, painful book to read. I think it's going to help a lot of our military families who are coping with loss.
Absolutely. It was an emotional book, but I felt very empowered afterwards. So I'm hoping that everyone else will as well.
Well, thank you. I think so. Julie, you wrote a wonderful book. I got to tell you, I felt your emotions just along with you as I read this book. Your fears, your just everything. It was really, really an amazing, amazing work.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that very much. Are you there?
Oh,
yes. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. No, I appreciate you saying that, especially, just on the heels of Memorial Day.
This must have been very difficult for you. Although, are you finding that network's still strong of people in the military community who are still around you?
It's siphoned down a little bit, but only, I think, what the result is the people who were closest to Max are definitely still in communication with us, and that means a lot. I just got a video from a guy that was serving with him in Iraq, and it was during a sandstorm, and he just said he just wanted to share, just a goofy little thing that Max was doing, and it was sweet to see.
Oh, and I'm sure things like that will trickle in.
Right.
It sometimes maybe 6 months or a year later, and somebody will be moving or somebody will be back from deployment and say, gee, I'd love to look up this person, and they may just be in touch with you. Tell us a little bit about Max. Did he always want to be a Marine?
The first time I heard about it was on 9/11, and he was in the 8th grade. And he said, Mom, if I was old enough, I'd sign up. And I can remember saying, well, honey, as an American woman, that makes me very proud. But as your mother, it scares me to death. But he and didn't talk about it much after that. But then next thing I knew, he's talking about signing up. And I tried to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
At one point we were at dinner, and I'm like, why are you doing this? And he said, well, they pay for college. And I said, well, hon, I'll write the check. That's not why you joined the Marines,
It is difficult, I think, as a mother, and I think both Sandra and I have talked about this. We both have sons. Mine is an adult son. She still has younger boys. And San, don't you agree? This is what's difficult, I think, for any mother. Whether it's you have a girl or a boy, if they decide to enlist, that's scary.
It's scary, but I think one thing that I've experienced is I've met families who have lost a child not due to military, whether that be an accident or health reasons. And I kind of sit back and think, Max signed up for this. We kind of had a clue and some little bit of a say that, he was putting himself in danger and knew it. There's young people getting into a car and just never making it home. And that's, the result is sad no matter what. But I think of that and think, there was no way that those parents or people could have ever expected that.
Yeah.
Now, Julie, did you ever think you would be writing a book, much less writing a book on this topic?
No. And I do give presentations, and there was one time I was in front of a group of people who were aspiring writers, and I was just like, this is almost insulting for me to be addressing these people because I'm a person who wrote a book. I'm certainly not anybody I would consider to be an author,
I think your book is going to help an awful lot of people. I think because you encourage everybody to live your life that's focusing on making that person proud. Like in this case, Max has just got to be busting a gut, in heaven, just so proud of his mama to take this information and put it out there for everybody to learn from and grow from. I just think that's amazing. What do you think Max would be saying about you right now if he heard you on the radio or was reading your book? I mean, what would he think?
I don't get that question very much, but I remember the first time I got it, because in the book I write about how if Max had 2 minutes and could come back and talk to me and I wasn't allowed to say anything, what would I want to hear him say? And somebody posed the question to me, what if that was reversed and you were the one talking and he couldn't say anything? And I can remember thinking, it kind of took me back, and I'm thinking, I would want him to know that I get it now. I didn't initially, because I'm like, I was a single mom for many years, and Max and his brother Ryan and I were a real tight unit. So I always wondered, at what point did the Marines supersede Ryan and I, But I've met so many, young Marines and friends of his that I would want him to know that he was always so protective growing up, and that protective nature, just as he got out in the world, overflowed to other people. He was doing what he always did, but the circle was smaller. So I would just want him to know, not to worry about me, and that I understand why he did it.
Tell us what his duty was.
He was a working dog handler. So when he was in Iraq, his dog would sniff out the bombs and the bad guys. And in Afghanistan, his dog was trained to sniff out improvised explosive devices, IEDs. Mm-hmm. And Fenji, his dog, actually did. She had sniffed out 4 that morning. But it's like Max always said, as soon as, the bad guys figure out that the Marines have the components of the bombs they're currently making, they switch them out. And plus, he was on top of an IED that was remotely controlled, and those are different devices. So, but that's what he was over there to do. And go ahead.
And how much of his accident did you want to know, and how much did you not want to know? I can only imagine that would have been as much as you wanted to know everything right immediately and be with him. There must have been something like, oh, please, I just want to know that he didn't suffer.
Oh my goodness. It trickled in at the beginning, and I when I speak, I say, I've been told you're not going to find out any of this in a military report. And Max lost both of his legs and his right arm immediately. So we knew he was a triple amputee, but we had 2 days of thinking that he was alive, and they were, doing everything they could to get him back to the States. But then the most amazing, many amazing things have happened. But one thing that is one of the most is just through sheer coincidence, or in my mind, absolute faith. The combat field surgeon came across my path and came over to the house and talked to us. And one thing he made very clear was that Max's mind was gone immediately. That was a huge piece for me, that he really never knew what hit him. But that's such an unusual meeting, because combat field surgeons do not want to meet the families of soldiers they work on, and they definitely don't want to meet families of soldiers who have died.
Wow.
Julie, having gone through this experience with Max, for other parents that are listening today who are going through the same experience as you did with your son, what kind of advice do you have to give them as you go on your journey and you've walked the path before them? The word advice kind of scares me, because I would hate to put myself into this position where, listen to me because I know. But what I would say in terms of what works for me is, I have a very strong faith. But also, we talked about things, but before Max left for Iraq, we talked about, what do you think happens when you die?
And it wasn't just like, even if you don't share my faith, if I would be telling people, have these conversations just to find out so you have, something to grasp onto after they've left, even in terms of, do you want to be cremated or buried? I'm so glad I'm not sitting there at this highly emotional time of life thinking, well, gee, do I bury them or do I burn them? We talked. Now, granted, we had Iraq and Afghanistan hanging over our heads, so it's not the typical dinner talk, but I would just suggest to people to consider asking these questions. It's not fun to talk about, but it's a lot less fun to have to live through when you haven't had these conversations.
One of the things that I love about your book, Julie, is your section in the back for inspiration. And I think this is a wonderful element to your book that sort of gives somebody hope. And we've only got about 3 minutes before the end of the show. So I just wanted to ask you if this was something that you thought you needed to share, or was it something that someone gave you and therefore it was a part of your writing process?
I just felt led to do it, is what I could say, and it was a very private leading, but again, nothing I ever wanted to do, but my deal was kind of like, I'll write it and put it out there, and you do with it whatever you want to do. Right. And my goodness, between my book and there's another book called Soldier Dogs by Maria Gudovich. And her book actually is on the New York Times bestseller list, but she was writing it on military working dogs. Came across Fenji, the dog Max had in Afghanistan, learned Fenji's story, then Max's story, and you asked earlier about the information. Mm-hmm. We had several phone calls and became friends through this experience of her writing, and she had military clearance. So when the book was ready to come out, she called and said, there's more in there than I believe that you know. And so I knew to be very leery of Chapter 46, because she starts her book with Max and Fenji. I mean, paragraph 1, page 1, sentence 1.
Right there.
Interweaves them throughout. But what's really nice is there was an event here in Colorado at one of the local saloons last Monday in his honor. And Maria flew in for it, so I got to meet her face-to-face for the first time.
Oh, how wonderful. Oh, Julie, we've got just a minute. Where is the best place for people to find your book?
They can go, actually, missingmax2011 at gmail.com. And that will go to me, and I can fulfill orders from here.
Wonderful.
It's available online, but the fastest way to do it is missingmax2011 2011 at gmail.com.
Oh, Julie, thank you so much. And we thank Max for his service, and we thank you for this wonderful gift to all of our families. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned. We're going to have Paul Kendel join us, Walking the Tiger's Path. Be back in a moment.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Do holidays and celebrations get you down and leave you feeling frazzled? Then join Sandy Fowler and her guests on Heart-Filled Holidays every Monday at noon, 11 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Sandy will help you discover the secrets to having the celebrations you've always dreamed of while adding fun and meaning to your life. From Valentine's Day to Christmas to special family events, Sandy Fowler will show you how to put the fun and meaning back into those special days by taking a look at what we can do to turn the upcoming holidays into cherished memories and show us how to allow it to intertwine with everyday life. For more on the show, Sandy, and to receive Sandy's Holiday Happiness booklet, go to heartfilledholidays.com. Then get set to discover the secrets to creating happy holidays and happy everydays by joining Sandy Fowler and her guests on Heart-Filled Holidays every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time on TogiNet.com.
Second chances. We all deserve them, and we are all worthy of them. Second Chances with your host, Midge Noble. Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central on TogiNet is like coming home to warm, fresh baked cookies, a hug from Grandma, or an enthusiastic greeting from your dog. Second Chances, hosted by Midge Noble, a licensed professional counselor, is affirming, warm, genuine, validating, and thought-provoking. Second Chances is a place to be heard, a place to laugh, a place to cry, and a place to be seen. For more on Midge and Second Chances, check out MidgeNobleSecondChances.com. Then be a part of a show that will change how you think, how you feel, and what you do. Give yourself the gift of second chances and see where it will take you. So take a deep breath, open your heart, open your mind, and join host Midge Noble for Second Chances, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com, covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd. And for those of you that missed the first half of the show, you can pick us up on iTunes. You can also hear us at TogiNet.com or at our host station, MilitaryMomTalkRadio.com. We have 150 shows covering everything from PTSD to deployment to family situations to great authors and great military reads. And I want to put a shout out and a thank you to our listeners today. I know we're broadcasting in some locations that house our military personnel. They also hire our retired personnel in the defense contract industry, so we want to thank them today for tuning in. And I want to put a thank you out to Julie Schrock, the author of Missing Max, because losing a son or a daughter in Afghanistan and writing about it and putting that information out to the public so that we can all share in that information is really brave, and I know that Max would be so proud of his mom.
Absolutely.
Rob, we've got a great guest today coming up. We've got Paul Kendel, who wrote Walking the Tiger's Path. And this is a really interesting book, Rob, because it's a spiritual journey that puts you on the ground with National Guardsman Paul Kendel as he faces roadside bombs, ambush, and potential suicide bombers while he patrolled in the Triangle of Death outside in Baghdad in 2005. And it's just a really, really great read, and I'm so happy to welcome Paul to the airwaves.
Hello?
Do we have you, Paul? Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Paul.
It's
I got to ask you, what led you to take these experiences? And, you cite modern Buddhist literature in your marketing, and that's something you don't see in a whole lot of military books.
No, you really don't. But the path that I took was the Shambhala Buddhism that much of what I was reading it's within Buddhism, but it's not as traditional. It's more secular. It's more meditation and mindfulness based. The American military has been experimenting with meditation practices to help with PTSD and veterans as well. So it was more secular in nature, not quite as traditional Buddhism, but yes, the Buddhism element was certainly not something you find in most war books, I guess you should say.
No, it definitely is not. How did you come up with the title? What does that mean, Walking the Tiger's Path?
Well, it's odd. I'm in Boulder, Colorado at the moment, and yesterday I was at a talk and book signing, and the main Tibetan leader, he comes from Tibet, Sakyong Nipam Rinpoche, and that's kind of exotic-sounding names, but he was in Boulder giving a talk and a book signing on his new book called The Shambhala Principle, and I've met him before. He actually, within a couple of weeks I was in Iraq, he sent me an email of support, that kind of connected me to this whole Buddhism lineage and the teachings. So, like I said, I'm here now, and that whole the whole Buddhism element was, like I said, I'm here, and that, connected straight through with his teacher as my teacher, and that just, that provided that that connection, like I said, the support that I needed.
Was this book?
Oh, go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm sorry. Was this book, Paul, more of a diary of a journal that you wrote during your experiences, or was this more of your being able to express all the things you've learned and experienced as an afterward?
Well, yes. I mean, like you said, the title "Walking the Tiger's Path." Within Tibetan Buddhism, the tiger's path is the path of discernment, basically, and the Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche in a previous book, the most influential one that I was reading while I was over there was Turning the Mind into an Ally and Ruling Your World, and he talks about the path of discernment and this tiger's path that every step you take, you have to use discernment to you don't want to jump into things without thinking first. And when I came back from Iraq, I realized that much of my life there in Baghdad was, trying to get a lay of the land, walking, using discernment to survive each day. You had to worry about IEDs. You had to pay attention to all these possible dangers. And you didn't want to overreact because there were innocents that could be killed in the process. So you really had to use mindfulness. You had to use discernment and you didn't want to inflict harm on innocents or, danger to your fellow soldiers or yourself. And you really had to think before you acted. And it all kind of coalesced and came together when I came home. And I realized I was reading the book again, and The Rule in Your World, and I was reading about the tiger's path, and I went, hey, that epitomizes my whole job there in a sense. I had a mission to do, but I also had to, we were there to help people. So, the path of discernment really kind of epitomized the whole mission in a sense. And I realized, hey, this is a good title for the book.
Now, what was your position over there for our listeners today who aren't familiar with your work? You're a National Guardsman. Can you give us a little rundown of your career?
Sure. I currently live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I lived in California for many years, and I've been in the National Guard out there for over 10 years. And I moved my family out to Jacksonville, and I joined a Guard unit in Georgia that I thought they said it wasn't going to go anywhere, that they weren't going to deploy. But as it turned out, that one of the worst places in Iraq and Baghdad needed a filler unit between the 101st Airborne and the 10th Mountain Division, and they had no filler people for that 6-month gap. So they picked the Georgia National Guard out of the blue and stuck us into one of the worst places in Iraq, which most National Guardsmen didn't actually really. I mean, they guarded different places, but at that point in time, we were one of the first to really do regular combat missions and take over for units such as the 10th Mountain Division. And we patrolled southwest Baghdad. We went on routine patrols during the day, basically driving around waiting to get blown up every day, and being called to raid houses or respond to different attacks and things like that.
Do you have a timeline when you really began to read Shambhala's philosophies? As far as was it once you were over there, or had you always been a participant and a reader of this philosophy?
No, not at all. I was just at Barnes & Noble before the deployment, and I kind of really didn't think I was going to be doing anything that exciting or that dangerous. I'd just be sitting in the tower, bored all day with nothing to read. So I grabbed all these classic novels that I thought, in War and Peace, one day this would be time to read it. And I just happened to be in the spiritual and the Eastern religions, and I picked up Turning the Mind into an Ally by Sakyong Mipham Rinpoche, and it just looked vaguely interesting. And I started reading it after about a month while I was over there, and people had died and a bunch of things had been going, any kind of illusions of making it through without anybody around me dying faded really quick. And I kind of needed some support. And reading Dostoevsky and Hemingway and all this other stuff just wasn't going to work for me. And so I started reading the Turning the Mind to an Ally, and just his thoughts on, looking at, obviously we were there to fight an enemy, but, there's implications to your actions as far as, who you kill or who you're, who you're trying to help. And your mindset and anger and aggression and fear, and there's so many emotions going through everyone's head. And when we started, we lost 8 men in my platoon in 6 days. And once that happened, there was natural anger and aggression towards all the Iraqis. And I just kind of felt that we were there to help people. I was a little worried about some of this anger and aggression that seemed to overwhelm a lot of my friends around me, and I was worried about them and their actions and the people around us. And the words of the Sockeye Mepom and turning the mind into an ally really resonated as far as how to deal with some of these kind of conditions and not give in to pitfalls of hate and anger that could cloud your judgment, which was so important on a daily basis. And I started reading his book.
Paul, I think it goes deeper than that. Our earlier guest, Julie Schrock, the author of Missing Max, her son was killed, in Afghanistan and in August of 2010. And, she writes this book about, joy and moving forward. And here you're writing a book that talks about, maintaining your humanity and your sense of compassion, and you still have your finger on the trigger of a gun while you're struggling with this. What did you learn from this that you can share with our listeners today? Like, what would be the takeaway from your experience in retaining your humanity?
Well, there was, like I said, I mentioned the 8 guys who were killed, and the first 4, they was like within 6 days. So the first 4 were killed, and they were all within the same squad. And another member in that squad had been in Germany, and he'd heard about the news, and he could have stayed there, and he'd been in a previous IED attack. He found his way back, unexpectedly, gets back to Iraq. And he's understandably upset, right? And he wants revenge. He wants to get back at the amorphous enemy, the bad guys out there, even though it was very hard to tell who was who. And he showed up out of the blue, and he said, I want to go out. I want to get out there. I want to go on patrol, and I want to find these guys. And the very, they do something. He was too excited, like too pent up with rage, and they stood him down for a couple of days, and then finally they said, fine, you can go out. And a friend, I remember standing there looking, and his friend looked up at him, and this individual's in the gunner on a Humvee, behind the main machine gun. And this other friend looked at him, and he said, if you see one of those guys, you take the shot. You don't hesitate. You kill him.
Yeah.
And, in many situations, sure, if it's defined and you know who the bad guy is, that's one thing. But this guy was so obsessed with anger. And they went out that night, and that very first patrol back, that was the one that he was killed, the very first one back. And his squad leader after the first 4 guys had been killed, he started to give away his DVD player, his TVs. He knew it was like he knew he was going to die. And he went out there with a sense of hopelessness and loss. And the other individuals out there with such rage. And it was almost like this negative karmic energy just almost predestined their death in an odd way. And
Paul, I'm so sorry. We're going to end the segment. We'll be sure to get the website on the other side of the break so that everyone knows where to find your book.
Sure.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Are you ready to start rocking that woo-hoo that only you do? Because Lisa Stedman is on a mission. She will dare you, challenge you, enlighten you, provoke and empower you to bring out that inner woo-hoo. Lisa is an internationally acclaimed best-selling author. She is a breakup expert, a brand consultant, CEO of Woohoo Inc. and the Woohoo Radio Network. She will show you how to take your boo-hoo and turn it into woo-hoo. Get rebellious and get real. Get your dreams off the back burner. Get inspired and motivated to take action. Start rocking that woo-hoo that only you do in love, life, and business. She is going to be here for you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only here on the Woo-Hoo Radio Network.
Have you been laid off, fired, downsized, right-sized, or re-engineered out of a job? Are you unemployed or anticipate that possibility? Then tune in for Successfully Unemployed, hosted by Alan Sherwood, MBA, president of Sherwood Consulting Service. Successfully Unemployed will provide you a hope-filled and comprehensive approach to the job search process from an author who's experienced it all. Alan and his guests will cover all dimensions of a job search: physical tasks, mental attitude, emotional health, even one's spiritual perspective. All must be integrated in order for a person to be successfully unemployed so they can then be successfully employed. This show is designed to help you move forward from job loss to finding or creating more fulfilling work. For more on Alan Sherwood, MBA, and the show, check out his website, successfullyunemployed.com. Then join us for Successfully Unemployed with Alan Sherwood, MBA. Thursday nights at 8, 7 Central here on TogiNet.com.
We'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and a statue of liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, Military Moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd, and our guest today is Paul Kendel, Walking the Tiger's Path. You can pick up his book at walkingthetigerspath.com. And I want to, before we bring on our next guest, Rob, I want to visit with Paul for a minute longer because he was telling us a very compelling story before the break about, the kind of the mental game that you have within a war situation. He said he's got, a friend giving away his stuff before he goes out, and you've got other guys that are saying, you just fire, they're the enemy. Paul, how did you reconcile that situation with your own humanity?
Oh, did we lose him?
We might have lost Paul.
I think so. That's too bad.
Okay,
he does
we'll
have another... Yeah, he does have another book coming out. We wanted to mention that. So when we have him back to launch his next book, we'll be sure to talk a little bit more about that. And again, Sandra, what's the website?
It's Walking the Tiger Path, plural, tigerspath.com, all one word.
Great. Fascinating book. It's really something that you want to sit and take some time with. Very, very interesting book.
Very interesting. We've got another interesting guest coming up. We've got Jerry Clark, and he helps individuals find job opportunities within the social media platform, and we're going to talk about getting employed as a military veteran. I mean, jobs are on everybody's minds these days. We hear the economy's turning around. I still see people, especially veterans, struggling to get jobs. And we're talking about veterans who are 19, 20, 25 years old, all the way up to veterans in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. So it's really great for Jerry to come on and talk to us a little bit about how social media can help veterans find jobs in today's business market.
Do we have Jerry with us?
I'm with you.
Thank you. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Glad to be with you.
Tell us a little bit about your company, first of all. Was this something that you have been busy with for a long time, or was this something that evolved out of situations that you realized were needed by other people?
Actually, Evocus technology started back in 2009. And it actually evolved into providing support for people on the social media platform LinkedIn. We always had the vision of wanting to help support individuals however we could, and LinkedIn just fell in our laps, and it was just a perfect fit for us just trying to help people out in the marketplace. And by LinkedIn being the world's largest professional network with over 200 million members, it just made sense that, that's the place we wanted to be.
I know that everybody's heard of LinkedIn, and I'm sure everybody has sort of maybe even set up a profile, but maybe don't realize the power of LinkedIn. Maybe give us a little reason why we should be looking at LinkedIn in a different light.
Sure. There are a number of different social media platforms out there, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. But LinkedIn is really the place you want to be if you're an actual job seeker. LinkedIn can be intimidating. For those people, a lot of, literally thousands of individuals have profiles on LinkedIn that are really considered ineffective because they don't understand how LinkedIn is actually structured. They don't understand that, one of the things they really need is to have their profile optimized so that it is actually positioned to be found when recruiters and talent acquisition specialists are looking for their skill sets. And in addition to be positioned, also what I call outbound activity, and you as an individual doing work on your side of the fence and actually promoting yourself and getting yourself out there to be known.
Now, when would they start this? Would you recommend that our service members, put this stuff on LinkedIn prior to leaving the service? Should they do this while they're on active duty, looking, knowing that they're going to, finish their military career? When do you start this?
Yes, you can start it early, absolutely, especially for people who are doing transition to transition type activity, going from one position to another. You get yourself out there, and again, like I said, you want to be optimized, and part of that optimization process is, where are you trying to land, and you want to optimize yourself around that. You can get yourself known out there within different areas, so that you can find out what industries are in the area you want to be. A lot of people graduate from college, and they want to stay in their area. Other people want to move back to where their family members might be because they're getting up in age. Everybody has a different reason, and that's why we have to spend one-on-one time with each individual to actually help optimize them based on their requirements. But we also want to reverse engineer what we're doing in order to fit what that job seeker is actually looking for.
Now, how does the MOS relate? We see these skills translators on time. You got your MOS that you did in the military. How does that translate to civilian work? Do you find that those are helpful, or do you find it better to work with a one-on-one person?
Well, what we do is we work one-on-one because I've been asked that by a number of post-secondary schools. Can you come in and just help everybody in a classroom setting? And the answer is no. It has to be a one-on-one interaction in between one of our people and that individual because their needs are specific to them. There are a lot of different translating applications out there. I know that the banks and other places use that. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, and that kind of helps the actual employer understand exactly what they're getting, but also help that military person kind of speak the civilian life as well to understand where their skill sets fit. But once you get out there on LinkedIn, you want to make sure you understand basically the ground rules on how that thing is structured. What are your limitations? And then position yourself or create that foundation so that you can be found and then build on top of that. When I do presentations, a lot of times I say it's kind of like building a house. You want to create your foundation first and then put up your walls and the roof. And same thing on LinkedIn. You have to create that foundation and build on top of that, and then you'll position yourself to be a lot stronger and to have that competitive advantage over a lot of other people that are out there seeking that same position that you may be going after.
Would you say that LinkedIn is a place to put sort of everything in the world that you've done, or is it similar to a resume that you want to stick to the key elements that you're really targeting as far as your next career move?
That's a good question. I've seen a lot of posts from people that say, just take your resume and dump it in your profile and you're good to go. Well, that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make on LinkedIn. You want to actually take your profile and you want to tell a story. You want to make sure people know who you are and what you're all about. It's really more personable. to a point to where if I'm a recruiter or a talent acquisition specialist and I'm looking for your skill sets, I'll read your profile. When I finish reading it, there needs to be a call of action. Now that I've read it, what do you want me to do? And is it written in such a way that I want to connect with you? And that's the end result. You want them to connect with you. You want them to reach out to you and make an offer to you. You want an interview. So being found is one thing, but once they read your profile, then making them want to engage with you is the other thing. So getting that search engine optimization piece in place, positioning yourself to be found, and once they find you, getting them to engage with you, and then you're off and running. You're in a pretty good position.
It really puts it in a whole different light. Jerry, tell us what your slogan, re-engineering wants with needs, really transcends.
Yeah, what that means is you want to create your profile in a way that really matches what that recruiter and talent acquisition specialist is looking for. You want to create it from their perspective. So when they go out and search, and a lot of them are taught how to search for employees to fill positions. When they go out and search on certain keywords and things like that, you want to look at it from their perspective and create your profile to match how they actually search. And that's one of the things we kind of help you with is that keyword strategy, because LinkedIn has an algorithm behind the scenes that actually decides who gets floated to the top, who's a part of the results when they come back, and that kind of thing. And that's really what that search engine optimization process involves, is getting you found, getting you near the top when those results come back. So if you're on page 100, no recruiter is going to dig down 100 pages looking for you. You want to be near the top, and that's one of the services we provide.
That's fantastic. We're just about to at the end, Jerry. Can you give us where we should go to sign up or where people can find you?
Absolutely. Go to www.evacustech.com. That's EVACUSTECH.com. And because I know your listening audience is special, for the first 50 people who actually sign up, what you would do, go to our Contact Us page and actually fill out the information and put in Military Mom Talk Radio, and I will personally send you a link to our discount page so we can get you up and running for a 34% discount because of being a part of Military Mom Talk Radio.
Oh, Jerry, that's wonderful. We appreciate that so much. Jerry Clark from Evacus Technologies, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you both. Thank you very much.
Take care. I want everybody to tune in next week. We've got Julie Levin coming, We Speech. It's a wonderful organization focusing on disabilities. We have an author, Daniel Sainuk, talking about blind guide dogs. And next week, we've got our good friend Marcella Stretch from the Parents of Deployed Service Members Facebook group coming on. You won't want to miss that. We always love all of our pods listeners, and we love it when Marcella comes on because she always has something wonderful for military families. We want to thank Julie Schrock for being with us earlier today. Missing Max, Finding Hope After My Marine Son's Death, a very touching book. Thank you to Paul Kendel, Walking the Tiger's Path. And we want to say thank you to Jerry Clark from Evacus Technologies with us, talking all about LinkedIn. A lot of awareness that, you just don't think about, but when you're a military family and you're not sure where you're going to be, the best way to make sure that you're prepared for your next move is to have everything right there on LinkedIn. So definitely take him up on his offer. He's looking out for Military Mom Talk Radio listeners. Tune in next week to Military Mom Talk Radio and catch us on the web. We're always there, and we're always right here on the TogiNet station. Thanks so much for being with us today. Take care, everyone.